preparation in that bad football.
Yeah, to me, there's no attention to detail, and I think you're right. I mean, you look at the Jets game that they won. They came back to the next week and lost to Mason Rudolph and the Titans.
Yep.
And it was a terrible football game for the most part until Drake May pulled a play out of his ass. And then the next week they played the Bears, and they played well. We all knew the Bears were in basically a free fall, and then they played the Rams at home, and they had a chance sort of at the end of the game, but for the most part, the Rams completely dominated them. And it was very similar to this game in that you looked at it and just be like, did they game plan for this team? Did they try to take anything away from what the Rams wanted to do? And,
right.
and the answers were no. And in this game, it looked like everybody associated. I love the way that they came out and played the Buffalo game. You saw a team that was focused, that was ready, that had something to prove, including, and it probably started with the coaching staff and the head coach, who was under a lot of pressure at the time. And they came out, they started fast, they looked like they belonged on an NFL football field. Once that happened, it looked like, mission accomplished, we saved our jobs for this year. Let's just go through the motions this week in the last 2 weeks, and we'll get on to next year. Where, the problem was the other team, with a new head coach, with a new GM, was completely professional and just totally emasculated you on the football field.
What was the most troublesome thing that you saw offensively from them on Saturday? What bothered you the most about Alex Van Pelt and that offensive operation?
I would just say it continues to be Alex Van Pelt's propensity to call very complicated plays with a whole bunch of They need so many things to go right to have a big play on this team. Instead of just playing simple. I mean, the lateral play. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, how many things had to go right for that play to be successful? And what are the chances of this outfit? And against that team, you have to consider those things. I mean, to me, it looked like they just weren't prepared. This coaching staff never thinks about, and to me, it starts with the head coach. It starts with the direction of the head coach. They never think about what might the other team do to us.
Right.
Let's self-scout. If you were going against us, how would you game plan us? I mean, they have enough coaches who I don't know what they do, like a Ben McAdoo. Why isn't he every week, basically saying like, this is how I would attack you guys if I was the Chargers. I've watched a bunch of their film. This is how I think Harbaugh and Greg Roman and these guys are going to attack us, and they're just not prepared for it. And the players are not putting it in a position to succeed.
Defensively, why was it such a mess? Why was Justin Herbert just after, if you look at this, Greg, you go into the game, and I know it was Bill Belichick, Steve Belichick. I know some guys are injured. We all know that. That's been established. But going into this game, you said Justin Herbert, worst completion percentage of his career against the Patriots. Lowest passer rating of his career against the Patriots. 4 interceptions against the Patriots, which is the most interceptions against an opposing team outside of his own division. Justin Herbert has not been good against the Patriots defense when he has played them. What went wrong on Saturday outside of just talent?
Yeah, to me it was the Patriots, and we've seen this repeatedly. They have no plan to make things difficult on the other team. They don't, as opposed to the Chargers, what they did against the Patriots, attacking their protections. The Patriots never come up with a scheme to attack the other team's protections in an effective way. They just think, all right, well, we're going to run a stunt here, or we're going to bring somebody from depth, or we're going to try to do this. But none of that stuff fooled the Chargers. They kind of, laughed at it. And they did nothing to say, if Bill was here, what would they have done to the Chargers? They would have shut down Ladd McConkey, at least in big spots.
Yep.
I mean, the other guys, Josh Palmer, he's all right. Quentin Johnston can barely catch the ball. The tight ends aren't. I do like the Stone Smart kid. He's got potential, but he's really young. Will Dissly, for a while this season, was Justin Herbert's go-to guy, and he's a blocking tight end.
Yeah.
That's how bad their weapons are.
Right.
J.K. Dobbins was just back for the first time. It looked like the Patriots thought that the Chargers were going to come in and just try to roll to run on them, but the Chargers had other plans because they knew very early on, they're like, the Patriots can't get any pressure against us.
Yeah.
So it turned into a 7-on-7 game where Herbert was it looked like training camp 7-on-7, looked like Herbert was wearing a red jersey where he couldn't be touched. And it was a pathetic display of professional football. And the people responsible with the Patriots should be ashamed of that.
This is malpractice. Mm-hmm. This is malpractice. What is happening right now with the Patriots is malpractice from the top on down. You can rip everybody involved, and you should rip everybody involved, whether it's Robert Kraft, Elliott Wolf, Gerard Mayo, Covington, Alex Van Pelt. This has been a bleep show, Greg. It's been a bleep show. And I know that you had said weeks ago, hey, let's look at the final month, and if this team gets better, if there's some improvement, if it's not a disaster, if it's not a calamity, Gerard Mayo is going to be back. To me, I don't know about you, but between the Arizona game coming off the bye and that circus on Saturday against the Chargers, I would define that as a calamity.
Yeah.
I would define it as a disaster. What would you define it as? And if you're Robert Kraft, what are you doing right now?
I would agree with that. And then you combine that also with what went on in the pregame with Antonio Gibson's going to start, or Ramondre Stevenson does.
What
then
a
it's
mess.
a coaching decision. Then you get into the locker room after the game, and two of your most promising young players, Keon White and Demario Douglas, are talking about the need for change after one season with this coaching staff. So, yes, I think it's a calamity. If I am Robert Kraft, I am seriously considering just admitting my mistake and moving on and starting over.
You wouldn't do it yet. You said considering. If you're Kraft, you wouldn't say, I'm done. This is it.
If I was Robert Kraft, yes, I would be done.
That's it.
I'm done with this team.
Yes.
After watching the Chargers film and where we are, if I have to hear Dan Campbell one more freaking time out of somebody associated with the Patriots or Gerard Mayo, it's insulting. And I'm sure we'll get into this more, but this whole Gerard Mayo coaching candidacy to me has been offensive to career NFL coaches. They have 5 years of being an assistant coach and thinking you can be a head coach in this league, that you know what you're doing, is just the height of hubris. And I think that the hubris of Robert Kraft and Gerard Mayo have combined to make this team into, at this point, a clown show. And I wrote this. I said, you get a game like Sunday because, there's a talent disparity. The Chargers are better. They have some, really high-end players. But it becomes what it does because the coaching mismatch was so huge.
Right.
Patriots fans know this as well as anybody. How many years did you see the Patriots go up against clown show coaching staffs where you're just like, this is a joke? And a lot of them were like, Brandon Staley and other people, people with the Jets. You went into a matchup and you were like, this is a joke. That's the Patriots coaching staff knows what they're doing. The other side doesn't know what they're doing. You are now the clown show. You are now the laughing stock of a coaching staff, and they are here because of Kraft and Mayo and their hubris, and that they think they know everything. They have no idea what they don't know.
It is Cattles and Bedard. We're not only on 98.5 The Sports Hub right now, speaking with all of you. We're also on YouTube. Wave hi to the YouTube people, Greg. Come on, throw that big mitt up that you got. Hello, YouTube people. Hit us up. Let you know how you're feeling. 617-779-0985. Again, 617-779-0985. If you thought the film was bad, Greg told you it was even worse. It was even worse on Saturday. We'll take a look moving forward as Gerard Mayo is getting ready to speak to the media. And, of course, the biggest question to me, the biggest question for a lot of you, is whether or not the Patriots will start Drake May this weekend against the Buffalo Bills. You will hear from the head coach live coming up next.
Boston's home for sports, 98.
Mayo speaking with the media at Gillette Stadium.
Cisco.
And Happy New Year. Before I start, I just found out, what's going on in the city of New Orleans. Just want to make sure that, offer condolences to all those that are affected. Obviously, it's a very unfortunate thing that happened. Kind of puts things in perspective, lives being changed like that. And just want them to know that both me, the team, and the organization definitely offer our heartfelt condolences. All right, so, this game, look, it's the last game of the season, and, my message to the guys was, look, we want to finish off the season strong, and try to build some momentum going into the offseason. I would say, the guys they're ready to go. They're ready to go. We'll see how practice goes today. Obviously, I'm sure the question will come up, do you want to see certain players? Like, absolutely. And I would say if players are healthy, they'll be ready to go. Now, as far as, how much they play, how much they don't, I've never been a part of a team as a player or as a coach going into a game not wanting to win, and it's not going to change today. So that's my message to the team.
Rob, what can you tell us about the condition of Drake, and also do you expect him to start on Sunday?
You're going to talk to Drake here in a second. Drake's healthy. He'll be at practice today, and we'll see how it goes this week.
You had another guy who had left the game Saturday with a concussion. He was off. Any update?
He's still in the protocol, so I don't want to get too far down that line.
I wouldn't say we'll see how it goes this week. Referring to Drake, what factors will be at play when deciding whether he starts Sunday?
Yeah, my thing, if you talk to Drake, which you will hear soon, look, he's a competitor. He wants to play. And look, he's still developing, so he'll be ready to go.
So if he wants to play, will he start?
Drake is our starting quarterback. If he's healthy and ready to go as we go through this week of practice, then he'll play.
Gerard, you said that you want to make sure that you're winning the game, but also mentioned earlier that you want young players to get opportunities. How much of an opportunity is this game to get those guys more chances?
Yeah, we'll have to see how the game goes. So.
Yesterday, you guys moved Yannick. What went into that decision?
Yeah, just trying to give a veteran player what you've seen over, it's not just Yannick, but give him an opportunity to catch on with a team that will be in the postseason.
What about just...
And I would just say this about Jan. He did a great job. He was great in the meeting rooms. He was, great out there in the practice field. A veteran that brought a lot to the table, and wish him nothing but the best.
What about Gerard, for a guy like Drake? You've made it this far in the season. There's only one game left. What about the risk of injury now with just this one game?
Yeah, that's any position. I know oftentimes we focus on the quarterback spot, but that's part of playing football.
Was that a concern sort of saying to the team, if you were sit him over here, if he's more important than everyone else?
The team, everyone that's healthy will be ready to play and are expected to play.
I think it was one thing you addressed the Joe maybe getting some time.
Yeah.
What's the level of faith there with him? I know you know which chapter you went through with Kobe, but specific to Joe, is possible?
I would say it's still all up in the air. All three quarterbacks, as we've carried two, and the emergency quarterback will be ready to go.
What have you seen from Joe since he got in the building in April, early May to where he is now?
Yeah, just, I think, his ability to read coverages has definitely improved. Look, he has all the physical tools. I would say the command of the huddle has also improved, and he's done a good job on the show teams throughout the week. So,
You talk about laying a foundation. Mm-hmm. Which portions of the foundation do you feel are most solidly laid so far in terms of from last January to a year later?
Yeah, I'm not going to get into the different position groups, but I would think that we all.
Franchise-wide, culture-wide, locker room-wide.
Yeah. Going back to, look, these guys have come in here every week, and I know our record is what it is, but they come in here every single week during a hard season, ready to work, going out there trying to get better. And I think that's huge. That's part of it.
Gerard, what have you learned about Drake to this point, and what more could you learn?
I feel like we talk about this often. I would just say his ability to change the page and learn from his mistakes.
Any reflections on this being the last week of the season and just what this journey's been like for you so far?
Yeah, I think it's important to remember where you are in the journey, and and no one's happy with our record or anything like that. But understanding where you are in the journey is definitely important.
How much better a coach are you today than you were at the time as you go and build this process?
Yeah, for me, first year doing anything, there are going to be growing pains and things like that, and you have to learn from those mistakes and move forward and do the things that you did well early in the season and carry them over to the next season.
You mentioned
Dan Campbell before when talking about the lumps you expected to take in your first year. What stands out to you about how he was able to turn things around?
Well, it takes time, but I would say, you look at those guys now, both from a roster and a coaching perspective, like from his first year to his second year to his third year, all those things, there was change. And, he got it nailed down, and those guys are playing well. And I would say, there are other examples about that, other examples, but, right now I'm focused on the Bills for the most part, and that's what we're going to do.
You said earlier that we'll have to see how the week goes before you make any decisions about quarterbacks. What will have to happen during the week to change anything from what you've done in the past?
I mean, it's been this way the whole year. You go out there and have a good week of practice. We're always competing, and you have an opportunity in the game. And it's not about how many snaps you play in the game. To me, it's the value and the quality of those snaps that are the most important thing as we evaluate.
What have you learned about yourself this year?
You're being serious. This is the same question. Just being resilient, just trying to be resilient. It hasn't gone the way that any of us have wanted it to go, and it's a huge piece of it. Steve Jobs, I think, he had a quote where you have winning seasons or winning years, and then you have character building years, and this has been one of those character building years that I'll always remember.
And you said on Saturday that you hear the fans and some of the chants. Does that affect you?
No, for me, it's all about the guys in the locker room, and it's all, look, they're disappointed in the record. I understand that, and look, even with you guys in the media, I understand what your job is, and that's okay. My thing is, it's always about the team, and it's about winning football games.
Are you concerned or worried about that this could be your last game on Sunday?
No, for me, it's all about just focusing on the Bills trying to win that game.
How much work have you had to do on the Bills, considering you played them just 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, I mean, look, you always want to prepare as if it's the first time you played them. Look, we know those guys, and you go back and look at that game, the first half versus the second half, and we were in it for quite some time until the second half. It got out of control. So, definitely still doing all of our homework. We're still game planning, approaching it like a normal week.
Gerard, over the last couple of days, have Elliott or anyone in ownership had any input on the approach when it comes to who will play Sunday?
I'm in constant communication with Elliott. I'm in constant communication with ownership. And again, I've never been a part of a team as a player or a coach where we haven't gone out there and tried to win the game. So those conversations haven't happened.
When you're assessing, trying to figure out why things are going wrong, how do you parse through what's the result of coaching, player execution, talent?
Yeah, that's part of it. Like, you have to evaluate everything. You have to evaluate the different processes throughout the week. You have to evaluate the coaches. I have to evaluate myself and have others evaluate me. Everyone's under. Look, when you have a season like this, you got to evaluate everything. All right, appreciate it. Happy New Year.
All right, so there was Gerard Mayo with the media just a few moments ago. They're at Gillette Stadium. Cattles and Bedard with you here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. We will break down what Gerard just said to the media, the highlights, Drake May, will he play, will he not play, coming up on Sunday. Thought that was a little bit open-ended. Greg and I will get to that and much more coming up next, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Sports Hub headlines.
Celtics crushed the Raptors yesterday at the Garden, 125-71. The 54-point win is the second largest in franchise history, largest ever at home. Jason Tatum led the season scoring with 23. Celtics head to Minnesota to play the Timberwolves tomorrow night. Bruins lost in D.C. to the Caps yesterday, 3-1. Justin Brazeau had the lone goal. Bruins will now head to MSG to play the
deciding whether he starts Sunday?
Yeah, my thing, if you talk to Drake, which you will hear soon, look, he's a competitor. He wants to play. And look, he's still developing, so he'll be ready to go.
So if he wants to play, will he start?
Drake is our starting quarterback. If he's healthy and ready to go as we go through this week of practice, then he'll play.
A hangover than with us two. That's my thought. Kyle Fabrizio on the ones and twos doing a great job. So there was Gerard Mayo just moments ago, for all intents and purposes, telling us that Drake May would play. He would start if he's healthy. Drake, Greg, followed that up at the podium and said that he's feeling good and that he will play on Sunday. Is that the right decision, Greg? Do you think Drake May should be playing against the Bills in the final game of the year?
Absolutely. I do. I mean, I just think you have to play these things out. Let's just go with it. Gerard Mayo in his position right now. He's going forward like he is going to be the head coach of the football team next year, and you have to play this thing out, and you have to do right by your players. Certainly you sit certain guys who have been dealing with stuff. Like I would definitely sit like a Kyle Duggar who's been dealing with an ankle injury all year. Gonzalez, we heard, is in the protocol, so no reason to rush him or anything like that. But specific to Drake May, and we talked a little bit about this on Monday. Drake May is a competitor. He wants to play. I think he was pissed off during training camp when he didn't get any snaps with the ones.
Yeah.
He didn't really have a chance to compete for the job. I think that ticked him off. I think he is a competitor. He wants to play. And I do think that say the Patriots, for whatever reason, say the Crafts ordered the code red and said, we're playing for the number 1 overall pick. Start Joe Milton or whatever. Drake May's going to be pissed off. And you do not want to piss off the franchise quarterback. He's done everything you've asked. He's been a great leader. He's showing a lot of promise. Let him go out there. Now, when do you pull him? That's a good question. And I also think there are some dynamics when you talk about Gerard Mayo as far as appearances. Like if Josh Allen goes out there and just starts and plays like a series, which that's what it sounds like they're going to do. They're going to treat, at least with Josh Allen, as a preseason game. Is there a downside that Mitch Trubisky comes in and lights you guys up and you lose to the Buffalo Bills backups, when it comes to job security and the whole scene around Gillette Stadium? It could be ugly on Sunday if people come out and they want to voice their opinion. So I think all of those things are in play.
Sometimes you just got to sit somebody down and have a conversation with them. And when that person is younger, sometimes you just got to explain the bigger picture. And you got to tell them what the ultimate goal is. Gerard Mayo, this organization, should sit down Drake May and say, Drake, you've been great this year. We love what you've done. You are the franchise quarterback of this organization. There's no doubt about that. Unequivocally, you are the guy. With that said, we know you want to play on Sunday, Drake. You're a competitive guy. We love your competitive fire. We love it. But you ain't playing, kid. You ain't playing on Sunday. I'm telling you, I hate this with the heat of 1,000 burning suns. I cannot. I understand what you're saying about upsetting Drake May and being competitive and all of that. What do you stand to gain? Like, what do you stand to gain playing Drake May in a meaningless football game on Sunday? You're 3-13. You just got your ass whooped by the Chargers at home. What do you stand to gain? To me, what's the risk reward? Drake May goes out there, he throws a touchdown. Yay! He threw a touchdown against the backup Bills. Here's the bad thing. And I don't even want to say it because I feel like, Greg, I'm going to speak it into existence, and I don't want to speak this into existence. People watching on YouTube, you see the pain that I'm going through right now. What if he gets hurt? And I know people say, oh, it's football. Yeah, but if he doesn't have to be out there in a meaningless game. The last thing I want to see, Greg, in this dumpster fire of a season is your franchise quarterback, one of the only rays of sunshine on this football team, go out there against the backup Bills, some hero, knucklehead of the Bills, rushes the passer, takes a low, silly shot on Drake May, and now you're seeing Drake May hobble off the field with a blown-out knee. I'm done. I'm good. I've seen enough. Give me the number 1 pick. Don't put him at risk.
I'm sorry. I could not disagree with that anymore.
That's because you're wrong.
Yeah, I mean, look, if injury is your concern, which I understand, there are ways to mitigate that. And
Van Pelt's done a great job of mitigating it.
I mean,
right?
look, the Patriots suck on offense anyways. Like, it's not like they're out there like the greatest show on turf with all these great route concepts that AVP's drawing up. Like, you just say, like, look, if he plays a quarter, if he plays a half, we're going to freaking run the ball. We're going to do a bunch of quick game.
So why
we're going to
even have
max
him out there,
protect.
Why have him out there? If you're gonna go out there and you're gonna run the football 100 times, why even bother with this? Why not give Joe Milton a shot and say, hey man, you've practiced hard. We want to see if you can be a backup quarterback in this league by 2025. We need to plan ahead. Let's protect our franchise. Let's play Milton and stop with the silliness.
Well, I think it's because you're trying to, still in like week 18, you're still trying to establish something, and I think that if you're a quitter, I think that if Gerard Mayo goes to Drake May and says, you're healthy, we love you, but whatever, we're good, you've proven everything, we'll see you next year, we love where you are. I think that Drake May loses confidence in Gerard Mayo and the Patriots in general. I mean, I think you have to talk. As far as I'm concerned, or what I can remember, maybe you remember it better, didn't Brady play in a lot of these games? Like, start, and then they would lead, they would go out and play well, and
you
then
had a competent offensive coordinator, a much better offensive coordinator. You had a much better offensive line. And Brady doesn't play like Wile Coyote sometimes. I mean, when you look at Drake May, we've seen it, right? We just saw it last week. Instead of stepping out of bounds, he decides to try to turn upfield, and he gets croaked. And he's fortunate that he didn't get hurt. So, to me, comparing Brady when you could trust Brady, like if anybody was within a foot of Brady, 10 feet of Brady, he's chucking that ball to the dirt. He's not even playing. He would collapse, right? As soon as he saw a pass rush, he'd fall. If you tell me that Drake May is going to just fall down if there's pass rush, and he's not going to have that instinct that we've seen all year long when he gets pressure, he's going to run around and scramble like a chicken with his head cut off, I might buy the idea. But with his style of play and his desire, look, it's a credit to Drake. He's a competitor, as you said, and he wants to get the most out of every play. But me knowing that, I'm afraid he's going to put himself in harm's way during a meaningless game in the first quarter, and now he's going to put himself in a situation where, oh boy, we might have just lost this guy, or maybe he gets concussed for a second time in his rookie season.
I understand, but look, football players play football, and if the Patriots, if Gerard Mayo if he means anything, if he means what he says, then they got to go out and they got to play. And, apparently Dan Campbell is like Vince Lombardi around here. People with the Patriots, they think he's like, some sort of standard and whatever. What would Dan Campbell do? Their God. He would go out there and play balls to the wall.
WWDCD?
Yeah, that's where we are at this point.
Nice.
Even though Dan Campbell had 6 years as an assistant coach with the Dolphins, was an interim head coach, and also 5 years an assistant head coach with the New Orleans Saints. We're comparing that to Gerard's 5 years as a linebackers coach with the Patriots. But, that's something else. But you have to go out and play. Drake May wants to play. I think every time he steps out there, even though this is going to be vanilla Buffalo Bills defense, every time he gets out there, he gets better. And every time he goes against the Buffalo Bills defense, I think he's going to get better. And so, to me, you just have to play it out. This is professional football. Play it out to the best of your ability.
All right. Greg doesn't have a problem with the Patriots starting Drake May on Sunday. I have a problem with the Patriots starting Drake May on Sunday. How do you feel about this decision? 617-779-0985. You can call us. You can also tweet at us at Greg A. Bedard and at Nick C. Radio. I'll get to some of your tweets. And YouTubers, throw some comments in. We'll have Fabrizio pull some of the best comments. So 617-779-0985. Are the Patriots making a mistake starting Drake May on Sunday? We'll get to your thoughts. We'll have more of our thoughts. Cattles, Bedard, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Boston's home for sports, 98.5 The Sports.
Also on YouTube. You can hit us up on Twitter as well at Greg A. Bedard and at Nick C. Radio. Gerard Mayo just spoke to the media a little while ago, said that Drake May is going to play if he's healthy, and he should be expected to play, expected to start. Drake then went up to the podium and said, I'm feeling good, and I'm going to play. I'm going to play on Sunday. Pretty simple question for all of you right now. 617-779-0985. Do you agree with the Patriots' decision to play Drake on Sunday? Greg agrees with it. I do not. Let's get to you. 617-779-0985. Let's go to first Deshaun in Virginia. Hey, Deshaun.
Hello, guys. How you guys doing?
Doing well, man. How are you?
Good. Nick C., I could very much say I agree with you. No, Drake May should not play because it
smart
does
man,
not
Deshaun. You are a very smart man.
Yeah, thank you, because it does not do any sort of good due diligence for him to play simply because where do you benefit from him playing against a bunch of backups anyway? And then on top of that, from what I'm looking at, you don't want him to get hurt. That's number one. Also, too, when you actually look at as well, that Greg Bedard talk about having respect for the players. If I'm the ownership of this team right now, I would be cutting almost about 2/3 of these players because these guys are straight trash. I wouldn't want him out there with these players who are risk getting hurt. He has shown what he could possibly do right now to this point. So I'm asking, why would you actually want him out there right now? We're on this garbage.
All right, Deshaun, thank you. Appreciate your phone call, bud, and happy holidays. Happy New Year to you. Greg? Why would you want him out there with that trash?
For the most part, the Patriots have professional football players. Now, how good are they? Are they mostly backup level? That's up for debate. But I just think, as a football program trying to establish something, they need to play this out. And if that's just for a quarter, that's for a quarter. But you only have so many people. I mean, I'm sure you saw the clip. Bill Belichick was on with Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah.
And Bill and Jim agreed. I mean, you only have a 53-man roster, plus, whatever you have from the practice squad. You can only have 7 guys inactive for a game. Which 7 guys are you sitting? And, what does it tell the rest of the team that, if you made Drake inactive, he's more valuable than, Devon Godchow or, Hunter Henry, Austin Hooper, Michael Wenu. All those things are considerations. And look, I'm not. Once you start worrying about injuries and all that stuff, you don't have much of a football program. Of course, I don't think they have much of a football program right now. But go out there and play. Football players play.
Let's go to Shomo and Natick. Hey, Shomo.
Hey guys, thanks for taking my call. I'm a subscriber, so big fan of both of you.
Thank you.
I got to tell you, I'm completely with Nick here. Greg, you have to realize these people are incompetent. Okay, the coaches are incompetent. They have been blitzing us for the last 5 games. I think you've written about this, and they can't fix it. So the Bills are going to blitz. And one of them is going to go get home to May, and that's the last thing we want. I mean, you can talk about Harbaugh, you can talk about Belichick. I mean, these are competent coaches. They can protect them. These guys can't. So completely with Nick. I actually wanted to ask you something else, Greg.
Mm-hmm.
In your podcast, you talk about the film and things like that. But what my question is, who is Robert Kraft going to be talking to other than Mayo, who can explain to him what they're seeing on film, right? And tell him, look, this is why we think the coaching is bad. Because if he asks Mayo, I suspect Mayo is just going to tell him what everybody else has been saying, which is that, look at what you've given me. So what I want to know is, who is he talking to someone with X's and O's knowledge? And then on a completely different question, I have this for you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always wondering whether, because Mayo was part of the media, he has connections with some of the folks in the media. Without naming names, I really wonder whether he has been given a little bit of a runway, a bigger runway than other coaches might have been given.
Right. Shoma, I got to jump in. Appreciate the phone call. A lot to unpack there. First
Yes.
of all, as far as Kraft, does he have anybody he listens to? Anybody that's going to give him some word and say, look, Robert, this is a cluster bleep. You might want to just reset this whole damn thing.
So he's already done a lot of that. He did a lot of that. Him and Jonathan did a lot of that about midseason when they were 1-6 and things were not going well. Robert was talking to people, and it wasn't just about Drake May and how to support the rookie quarterback. It was about, Mayo. How do we better support him? Is that even possible? Like, if we made coaching staff changes, like, what can we do? They've talked to people like that. I do think what'll be interesting to me is when they get to these postseason meetings, and I anticipate them having them with Mayo, with the front office. I would assume they're talking to Mayo privately and Elliott Wolf privately, and I hope that everyone involved is honest. I do think that there are people on the personnel side that think that the coaching has not been good enough on this team. And
those would be the obvious Captain Obviouses of the organization and the people that understand what they're watching.
I mean, look, but there's a lot of people who just say they're not talented enough. What do you expect?
Yeah, I hate that.
I
hate that.
It's utterly ridiculous. It's insulting to football coaches everywhere. In every football game that you've ever played, from Pop Warner to high school to where, somebody always has a talent advantage.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean the game's over.
Right.
There are ways, especially if there's not a better sport to do this than in football, the ultimate team sport, where you say, you know what, you find an advantage, you hit that, you minimize your weakness, you keep it close, you force a turnover, you win a game. That's the essence of football. And apparently people have forgotten about that, including, Gerard Mayo, because the product had just been pathetic for the most part. So I do think that Kraft has been consulting with people. I would assume they're going to ask Elliott Wolf, Alonzo Highsmith, Patrick Stewart, people like this, their honest assessments of where they are, how much is talent, how much is coaching. I hope they get honest answers. And, we talked about Mayo in the media. Does he think he has he been given a free pass largely for this year?
Right.
More than some other, another guy who came in from the outside who didn't have these relationships in the media. I disagree with that. First of all, I think given the conversation that we've been having for the last month or two, I think his feet have been held to the fire. Now, do I think it took a while for some people to come around? I mean, I think everybody in the media at this point either has been saying like they need to consider the nuclear option or they're suggesting it. But I think that, look, I can only speak for myself. I went into this year saying, all right, just like I did with, Bill Belichick going into his last year when he did free agency, when Bill screwed up the coaching staff. All right, fine. Here's a mulligan. You get a mulligan. You've earned it. Then we see what happens. And Bill fell on his face, and he deserved to be fired. With Robert Kraft hiring Gerard Mayo, I didn't like it, didn't love it, but I said, look, Robert is entitled to make this decision. He had Bill Parcells, he hired Pete Carroll, hired Bill Belichick. He's entitled to this. But we also get to judge it, and we get to judge the results the same way we did Belichick at the end. And to me, it has been a failure, and I think they need to correct it, or they are going to do damage for this franchise that is going to last for years.
617-779-0985. He is Greg Bedard. I am Nick Cattles with you on New Year's Day. Your thoughts? Patriots, they're going to start Drake May on Sunday against the Bills. Do you agree or disagree with that decision? Also, we will give you the very latest on Mike Vrabel. Very latest on Vrabel in 90 seconds.
WBZ-FM and HD Boston. Patriots! From the opening kickoff to the final play.
Touchdown!
Your home of the pass. 98.5. The Sports Hub. Beasley Media Group Station. Sports Hub headlines.
Patriots set to play their final game of the 2024 season, thank God, against the Bills on Sunday. Gerard Mayo spoke with the media this morning. He said that anyone who is healthy and ready, expect them to play. Drake May then went to the podium and said, I'm healthy. I'm ready. I'm going to play. Celtics crushed the Raptors yesterday at the Garden, 125-71. 54-point win. It's the second largest in franchise history, largest ever at home. Seas head to Minnesota to play the T-Wolves tomorrow night. Bruins lost in D.C. to the Capitals yesterday, 3-1. Justin Brazeau had the lone goal. The Bruins will now head to MSG to play the truly awful New York Rangers tomorrow night. Finally, Penn State beat Boise State last night, 31-14. Nittany Lions now head to the college football playoff semifinal. They play the winner of Notre Dame, Georgia tonight. The other two matchups today, Texas, Arizona State, Ohio State, and Oregon. Headlines are brought to you by 495 Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, Ram, and Lowell. Don't miss their wrap-up the year sales event where you can save up to $12,000 on all new Ram light and heavy-duty trucks. Get a 495 Chrysler, Jeep, flip the page, Dodge, Ram, and Lowell, or visit 495ram.com. I'm Nick Cattles. I'm Boston Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next headlines with yours truly coming up at 12:30.
Boston plays here.
Coming through the slot. Close shot. Save. Rebound. Score.
98.5 The Sports Hub. The Bruins, the Celtics, the Patriots, the Sox, the Revs, and you. We're Boston's home for sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Just straight to the football for 2 hours. We don't get to learn a lot about Greg Bedard. So later on this hour, we will do that.
Come on, I'm tons of fun.
I'm a great time.
Man.
If I do say so myself.
It seems like you think I'm like some sort of football watching robot.
I don't. I saw you Super Bowl week hanging out with Bria. We had a beer at some point a few years ago. I've seen Bedard a little bit opened up.
Oh.
So we'll talk about it. But right now we're talking with you about the decision by the Patriots to start Drake May on Sunday. I think it's the wrong decision. Greg thinks it's the right decision. And we're not doing the radio thing, okay? We're like one guy thinks one thing and then the other guy's like, I'm going to think opposite of you to get some engagement. No, this is how we truly feel. I hate the idea of starting Drake May on Sunday in a meaningless game. Greg says, hey, football players play. It would be bad for the team. It would set a bad example. Our guy behind the glass will pull some of the best comments from the YouTube, so don't forget to do that. Also, you can call us at 617-779-0985. I have a Twitter poll out at Nick C Radio that I will get to in a few minutes when we get back to the May talk. But, Greg, I did want to update the fine people watching and listening on Mike Vrabel and what the latest out there is being reported. And I wanted to get your thoughts as far as Vrabel and maybe some things that you've heard more recently over the last few days. But here's the latest from Tony Pauline. Tony Pauline from Sportskeeda writes the following. Mike Vrabel is a popular name among Jets fans as the team's next head coach, but few in the league believe it will happen. I would imagine that Mike Vrabel has learned that Woody Johnson is the owner.
Or Brick Johnson.
Or Brick. What's up, Brick? Nice name, bro. The feeling is that Vrabel will use the Jets as leverage to get the job he wants at the salary he wants. Word is that the Raiders will make a run at Vrabel. But here's the key, Patriots fans. Here's the nugget. But people don't believe Vrabel wants that Raiders job either. Vrabel wants the New England Patriots job. People close to him tell me. But Robert Kraft seems intent on bringing back Gerard Mayo, at least at present time. Greg, I know you've reported that Mike Vrabel would have interest.
Yep.
I know our friend Tommy Kern has reported the same thing. Now Tony Pauline is telling us that not only would Vrabel have interest in the Patriots job, but it's actually the job that he wants. Mike Vrabel wants to be here versus anywhere else. Mm-hmm. This is the gig that he wants. Have you heard anything regarding that and just your general thoughts about Vrabel, Mayo, and where we're at right now with this coaching situation?
I have not. I know there's interest there. And as far as these other jobs, I still think, I maintain and I believe this to my core. The Patriots job, if it's open, is by far the best in the NFL. I think that if you're Mike Vrabel, if you're Ben Johnson, whoever else, the Patriots with Drake May, number 1 or 2 pick, $130 million in salary cap space, building a new football facility, owners who aren't that meddlesome, I think it's a great job. You look at these other jobs, like, the Jets, I mean, Woody's a disaster. And he didn't get an ambassadorship, so he's going to be there, and he's going to have his teenage kids, running the front office through Twitter and Madden ratings. I understand Tom Brady is in with the Raiders right now, and everybody thinks that that's a natural. Brady will bring his buddy Vrabel over.
Yep.
You still can't get away from Mark Davis owns the team. And we'll see how much influence Brady has. But to get somebody like Mike, Tom's going to have to guarantee that coach is insulated against Mark Davis. Because if Mike Vrabel talks to Josh McDaniels, Josh McDaniels is going to trash Mark Davis, along with just about anybody else who's worked for the Raiders.
Yeah.
The Chicago job, the GM's not going anywhere. The team president isn't going anywhere. New Orleans, the GM isn't going anywhere. Now, I do think the Jaguars, that would be an interesting. That would, to me, be the second best job.
How is Shad Khan looked upon as an owner in the NFL? Really?
He's great. He's hands off. Now, Tony Khan, his son, is there. He's involved in analytics. He's involved more on the football side than Shad is. But I get good reports from all of them. I think a lot of Tony. I've known Tony for years. I don't think he would be that much of a pain in the ass. But I just don't see where Vrabel, he's going to be very careful. Ben Johnson is going to be very careful about the opportunities. It's all about the owner. It really is. All these jobs, it's about the owner.
Yeah.
The other stuff you can fix. As long as there's a path to a quarterback, you can fix that. Maybe the Giants would be a decent job, but I still don't know if they're going to move on from Dayball. They might get rid of the GM, but I think that Vrabel has a high level of interest in this job, and we'll have to see what happens. I mean, I think that's part of the calculations for the Crafts, and if they really think if all of a sudden Mike Vrabel and Josh McDaniels are with the Jets, good luck to them.
Oh, that'd be rough. Playing that
up the rear end twice a year.
Playing that team against those coaches twice a year, that would be rough. Robert would not enjoy that experience whatsoever. Give me Vrabel. I won't say give me Vrabel or give me death. That might be a little dramatic, but give me Mike Vrabel. If you're telling me Tony Pauline is reporting that this is the job he wants, he would take this job before taking any other job out there. And I don't know if Pauline is including Ohio State. Ohio State beat Tennessee like a drum last week. They're playing later today against Oregon, the top team in the country. There's been some talk that, maybe they move on from Ryan Day. And, of course, Vrabel has the connection at Ohio State. Mm-hmm. Maybe that would be a job. But if you're telling me that Mike Vrabel wants this job above any other job out there, how do you not do it? How do you not do it? There's absolutely no guarantee that Gerard Mayo is going to get better or any of this coaching staff is going to get better for 2025. There's no guarantee that if they do come back in 2025 and they stink out loud, there's no guarantee that you're going to get somebody better out there, Greg, than a Mike Vrabel. Like, if you've got Vrabel, for all intents and purposes, in the back pocket, I don't know how you can ignore that and walk away from that after what we've seen from this football team.
I completely agree with you. And one of the things that we hear a lot from people, or at least I see it on Twitter, is people talk about, like, well, if you fire Gerard Mayo, you have a one-and-done coach. Now you're like one of these joke franchises. Really? You know that the San Francisco 49ers, before they hired Bill Walsh, they had 3 one-and-dones in a row.
Yeah.
Before they got to Kyle Shanahan, they had 2 one-and-dones in a row. Does anybody know that? Does anybody care?
No.
The San Francisco 49ers are one of the best franchises in the league. Historic. They're under Kyle Shanahan. They're pretty much contenders every year.
Yeah.
Depending on the injury situation. The Eagles fired Andy Reid. I mean, a lot of places you couldn't live that down with the success that he's had in Kansas City. Nobody cares in Philly. They fired Doug Peterson after winning the Super Bowl. They fired Chip Kelly. Nobody cares. I was talking to somebody the other day. What do you think, Kraft, we know he's all about his legacy and all this. What do you think does more damage to his legacy? If he hangs on to Gerard Mayo and he's a failure and he has to fire him after next season, or he fires him now and hires Mike Vrabel.
It's a great point.
I mean,
it's a great point.
If they hire Mike Vrabel and he brings in Josh McDaniels as offensive coordinator, just as an example, what kind of momentum are we talking about for next year in the offseason? How geeked are people?
Yeah.
Patriots fans. Compare that to we're coming back with the same offensive coordinators. We're coming back with the GM. Like, what do you think the attitude is going to be all offseason among Patriots fans?
This program right now, not the one that Greg and I are hosting, I'm talking about the Patriots program, is completely unserious. It's trending towards a circus. Barnum and Bailey's put a tent around it. If you hire Mike Vrabel, second one of that hiring, you are now a serious organization again. And that's what the Crafts need to think about. All right, that's on the table. Mike Vrabel, reportedly, Tony Pauline from Sportskeeda says Vrabel wants the Patriots job. It is the gig that he wants. Out of all these jobs, the Patriots is where he wants to be. So that's on the table, 617-779-0985. Also, are the Patriots making the right or wrong decision starting Drake May on Sunday? Let's go to Jordan in Dorchester. Hey, Jordan.
Hey, guys. First off, thank you to both of you, especially Bedard. Big Boy Tuesdays, BSJ Q&As are getting me through this season. So just thank you for everything you guys do. Just like your who cares comment about the one-and-done coaches, same thing for starting May this weekend. Think about the Eagles with that Nate Sudfeld game a couple years ago. Does anybody remember that? Nope, because they got it right. So I think just sit May. That's what I would say for that. In terms of, everyone keep reporting you and Mike Giardi, only if the wheels fall off. They're going to get rid of Mayo. They have fallen off multiple times on the highway. They're looking bad. So you got to clean house, including Elliott Wolf. I don't trust him to get this draft right, to get this free agency right. Kraft can, get rid of everyone now. Don't delay the inevitable. They're not going to get better in a year or two. You're just going to postpone it. So I guess my question would be, wouldn't it be better just to get rid of everyone now and change everything and go get Vrabel as opposed to year two? That would be worse for May's development is to get rid of everyone in year two rather than year one, correct?
All right, Jordan, thanks for the phone call. We will get to Jordan's question. Jordan said, look, if the wheels fall off, those damn things are already off. They're flying across the highway. People are dodging those wheels. They want to get out of the way of the wheels. The wheels are off. It's like the GIF on Twitter, right? When you got the rolling dumpster fire on the water. It's just the wheels are off. I could not agree with Jordan more. We'll get to Jordan's question. We'll have Greg answer that question in more depth than just yes. We want your thoughts. Mike Vrabel reportedly wants the Patriots job. It's the number one job on his list. It's his priority. He wants this gig. What would you do? 617-779-0985. Also, Drake May is going to play on Sunday. Do you think that's a mistake? Big Boy, Cattles, 985 The Sports Hub.
Boston's home for sports.
That was a good time. We left a little early. We left before midnight. I didn't want to go too hard, too crazy being in here with you today. So, but it was a good time. It's always a good time.
Yeah, it was a quiet night for me and Kelly. We just hung out at the house. Same thing. I didn't want to go hard. Had to do the show today. Wanted to be at my best with you. So we had some beers. Watched the festivities. I will say this: I don't know how many people watch. I don't know if you were watching it at all. But the Dick Clark's Rockin' New Year's Eve,
no,
that thing has fallen off a cliff.
I don't watch that.
That is brutal. It's brutal. Not the biggest fan of Ryan Seacrest, but it's nonstop of we're going to bring somebody on who does a show, right, on like ABC or whatever it is, right? So we're going to bring they were bringing random people on. Here comes 2 women from the Mormon's Wives show or whatever the hell. Then we're going to bring this person on from this TV show. And they do this awkward back and forth with Seacrest. Then they were going down to Puerto Rico incessantly. I don't know why, but they went to Puerto Rico every 10 minutes. Let's go to Puerto Rico. They would do that for 5 minutes. They'd come back. The musical acts. Like Carrie Underwood was fine. She obviously has a deal because she's a judge on American Idol.
Yeah.
So they forced her, I'm sure, to do that last night. That's how it works, right? We'll give you extra money in your contract if you do the New Year's Eve special. So that was fine. But yeah, TLC, and of course Left Eye is no longer with us, so it's really TC. There's no TLC. They had some random person. It was pouring rain in New York City, and they got these dancers on the stage, and there's no covering over the stage. These dudes were dancing in puddles, and I said to Kelly,
dancing?
like hip hop dancing, and I'm like, I know I'm gonna sound like a terrible human being, but I was waiting for one of those dudes to go ass over tea kettle on the stage on national television. I was like, one of these dudes is gonna slip and fall and break their face on national television. It didn't happen.
And you were like, see? Don't play Drake May.
Yeah, injuries can happen, damn it. Stay away from but the Dick Clark Rockin' New Year's Eve thing, completely off the rails. It's as bad as the Patriots. I want the time back from watching it last night. The Nashville thing is actually pretty good. It's actually pretty good. If you like country music and stuff, it's pretty. They got a bunch of top acts. Chris Stapleton was on there last night. Kane Brown was on there. So that was good. But the Dick Clark stuff is brutal. All right, 617-779-0985. Of course, that's the telephone number. Bedard and Cattles here on 98.5 The Sports Hub with you up until 2 o'clock. We're really talking about 2 things. The first thing is, according to Tony Pauline from Sportskeeda, Mike Vrabel wants the Patriots job. It's the job he wants. It's at the top of his list. And Greg and I both believe you pull the trigger, you get done with it, with what's going on here, hire Mike Vrabel, make this unserious football program a serious football program. That's the first thing. Something else we're talking about. Drake May is going to play on Sunday. That was told to the media today by Gerard Mayo, sort of, kind of, more clearly by May himself when he went to the podium. Do you agree with that decision? 617-779-0985. Greg agrees with it. I don't. I think you sit May, and it's not just about the draft pick. It's more I don't want to see the guy get hurt in a meaningless game. For a 3-13 team, you're playing against backups. So that's what we have on the table, 617-779-0985. We're on YouTube as well if you want to watch us. NBC Sports Boston, apparently not a fan of our faces, but we are on YouTube if you want to watch us. So check us out there. Throw some comments in. Fabrizio, pull some of those comments for us so we can get to those. And, of course, on Twitter at Greg A. Bedard, at Nick C. Radio. I'll get to a Twitter poll in a minute, Greg, that I have out there at Nick C. Radio. But first, we had the caller before we went away. I'm sorry, I forgot his name. Jordan, thank you. Jordan said, is it not better to rip the Band-Aid off now with this coaching staff than it would be to bring it back for another year in 2025 and have to go through misery if that's what happens?
But this is all part of the calculations for the Crafts. And I do think they are having these discussions, thoughts privately, where you have to think about all these things, and you have to do the permutations. If we bring this back, how do we get better?
Yeah.
What does it look like? What kind of staff changes? How is that going to look? Are we going to be able to hire anybody? Is anybody going to want to come here to work for a lame duck head coach who just fired, say, Alex Van Pelt and or DeMarcus Covington? Who's going to want to do that? Are we going to be better? What are the chances that we are better? What's the damage that we do if all of a sudden going into year 3, now we've wasted the first 2 years of Drake May, who's good, by the way, and they still can't win games. Do you know Mac Jones has as many wins as Drake May this year? And that's giving Drake May that second victory that Jacoby Brissett got.
Why you got to hurt me, Greg?
Why you
gotta hurt me, man?
I'm just pointing it out. And so technically they had the same amount of wins. Really, Mac Jones has more victories, which is utterly ridiculous and just tells you the state of affairs here right now. But this all has to be part of the calculations. If we go through with this, what are the percentages that it's going to be better? And if it's not better, now we're looking at a coaching search, everything. Who are the candidates going to be a year from now? Mike Vrabel and Ben Johnson will probably be off the board. Who are the next ones?
Yeah.
Do we want them? And I did want to point out, Jordan talked about the Nate Sudfeld game, and that was in I was looking that up because I did think about that. So that was January 4th, 2021. Jalen Hurts started that game. Nate Sudfeld came in. A lot of people thought they were trying to lose the game at some point. And Jordan said, who cares? Who remembers that? You know who does? Doug Peterson, because he got fired after that game. So, I mean, could we be looking at the same situation with Gerard Mayo? One thing I wanted to say about the Crafts and Mayo, I certainly gave them runway. And they know Gerard Mayo way better than I do.
Yeah.
And they obviously saw something. And I'm hoping it was more than the airport tutorial, the committee that they had in Israel waiting for a plane.
That memorable 2019 trip, baby. It was memorable.
So I allowed for that. And maybe they thought Gerard Mayo was a coaching savant. I'll allow for that. I mean, he certainly didn't do the usual path. I mean, I tried to look it up. I think nobody outside of Jeff Saturday and Antonio Pierce had less experience than Gerard Mayo in recent NFL hires. But we're now almost through this season. Does anybody think that Gerard Mayo is some sort of coaching savant?
No.
And
no.
To me, the biggest indictment is what has happened with the defense. If the defense just was middle of the pack, kept the team in games, they were losing games because they didn't have enough on offense, I think we'd all be like, okay, solid. But that the defense has completely fallen off, to me, that's the biggest indictment on Mayo and shows that the chance of him having success this first time around is not very good.
Dave in West Roxbury, you're up next. Hey, Dave.
Hey, guys. Happy New Year.
Happy
First
New
of all, Cattles, you're wrong. He needs to play. He's a football player. It's a rough sport. Don't play him the whole game. Play him in half. He's got to play. He could get hurt driving to the stadium with all the yahoos that go to the game. So he's got to play. Second, Greg, I think you kind of answered this question. Do you think the Krafts have made up their minds about Mayo and the staff? And more importantly, do you think we're going to find out by Monday so we can end this toothache of a season so we can get this over with and start going forward again? Because the longer they wait, people like Vrabel are not going to wait forever, I don't think, unless they know that he's got a chance.
Dave, thanks for the phone call, bud.
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't really know. I could just go off of sort of what they did in the past. And, what was after the Matt Patricia year, I think that was 2022 with Bill. And I was telling people it wasn't 100% Bill was going to be back. And, of course, a lot of people shot it down. I said a lot depended on the meetings with Bill Belichick and, would he admit mistakes and be open to certain things. And they ended up, Bill was open to the O'Brien thing and the Gerard Mayo thing. And so, he kept his job. It's since been reported that Robert Kraft wanted to fire Bill after that year. Jonathan talked him out of it. But I do think those postseason meetings are important. I think the Krafts are going to go in there with a lot of hard questions. And how do they get better? What's the path? And then I think they'll make their judgments. I would say probably by the middle of next week, we'll have an idea. But, look, I'm not going to totally be against us hearing Monday one of those, Kraft emails to the season ticket holders. We'll have to see, if they're going to send that out again. Are they going to say we're coming back with Gerard Mayo? One other thing about Drake May not playing, you think those people were angry at Gillette Stadium last week? Let these people come out to the game and Drake May doesn't play? Yeah, good luck with that.
Here's Robert Kraft's letter to Patriots fans. Ready? 4 words. I'm sorry, we sucked. That's all that needs to be said. Don't give me any promises about the future. Don't try to give me any excuses about the past or the present. This has stunk out loud. Coaching staff, overmatched. Talent, not good enough. It's been brutal. And Patriots fans have the right to boo. They have a right to chant fire Mayo. They have a right to say or do anything that they want to do at the game that they paid to go to outside of throwing stuff or being racist or talking about families. There's a line. But you have the right to boo this team. You have a right to call for the coach's head because it hasn't been good enough. It's as simple as that. It has not been good enough. And I don't think it's being a spoiled fan to watch this outfit and say, this is unacceptable. And if you can get something that is better, which you can with Mike Vrabel, reportedly wants to be here, then you do it. 617-779-0985. We will continue to talk Mike Vrabel. We'll continue to talk about that decision to play Drake May on Sunday. 617-779-0985. Also, I want to ask Greg this question. Has this season vindicated Bill Belichick? Greg answers coming up.
Sports Hub headlines.
Patriots set to play their final game of the 2024 season against the Bills on Sunday. Gerard.
There's shots from Do Your Job 1, Do Your Job 2, Do Your Job 3. I don't know how many of those documentaries we have, but it's the only time we've got to see
There's only one, but go ahead.
Okay, all right. Anyways, there needs to be Do Your Job 2. But
the other documentary, as you remember, is The Roast. I wouldn't count that one.
We did not participate in that. If you look at the names that were in there, we were not one of them.
I know.
Yep, dog, gotcha.
With you up until 2 o'clock, and then we've got Matt McCarthy and Alex Barth from 2 to 6, filling in for Felger and Maz. 617-779-0985. Myself and Greg, we send you truly a Happy New Year to all of you. Hopefully you had a fantastic night last night. We're going to have some fun with Greg in about 10 minutes or so. But we have a couple of things on the table. Mike Vrabel, according to Tony Pauline of Sportskeeda, the Patriots is his number one job. Mike Vrabel wants to be here. He wants to be here more than he wants to be with the Raiders, with the Bears, with the Jets.
Fire. He got so little interest around the NFL that he had to go to the University of North Carolina to coach football next year. I do not think Bill Belichick is riding high and looks any better than he did on his way out of Foxborough.
All right. I agree with you. I think people look at this and they say, well, you got rid of Belichick. Why'd you get rid of Belichick? Look at what Mayo's doing. Like, they're separate decisions, folks. To me, firing Belichick was justified. The personnel problems, he wanted to be the czar. It wasn't going to work out. Thank you for the 2 dynasties. You are the GOAT, but everybody comes to the time where they got to go. And I thought, Bill, you gots to go. But it didn't mean you had to hire Gerard Mayo. And it doesn't mean that Mayo doing terrible justifies Belichick in some kind of way that he should have come back. No, you should have just done a process. You should have done an actual process and talked to other people and maybe brought in Mike Vrabel or somebody else. So to me, it doesn't really have, one doesn't really have to do with the other as much as people think.
I mean, Nick, what are you talking about? They don't need to do a search. They have Robert's gut.
That's right.
I mean, that's the greatest search firm apparently in the country. I mean, it was just ridiculous.
They were in Israel. It was a beautiful sunny day. They were looking at each other. They gazed into each other's eyes. And at that moment, Robert said, Gerard Mayo's my future.
He hadn't even coached a game.
Doesn't matter.
As an assistant coach.
The sun was bright. The weather was hot.
That's kind of important in football.
The romance was real. They got to that airport, and Robert said, look at that guy hold a meeting. Look at him. Look at him lead a conversation.
Did he order snacks? I bet he did. I bet you that was impressive.
Ordered the snacks. Made sure everybody was comfortable. Drinks. Mm-hmm. Absolutely drinks. They're making me drink right now a lot. So.
Oh, yeah.
Tired of it.
Try watching the film every week.
Unserious. Steve in New Jersey's up next. Hey, Steve.
Hey, guys. Love the pod. Wanted to give you a call, support the radio spot, even though my wife is yelling because I've been on hold for about 45 minutes, so we have 2 screaming kids.
Thanks, Steve.
But always here to support you guys. So listen, a couple quick things. First and foremost, Belichick, the coach, never should have been fired. Belichick, the GM, definitely had to go. So if he wanted to be football czar, then he definitely had to be fired. Okay, so I definitely agree with that. I'm going to be diplomatic on May playing 2025. I'm going to be a good guy, so you're both right. First and foremost, listen, this is a 3-win team with May. And right now, it's all about building a culture, and you can't sit May, which may have him lose buy-in from his teammates, okay? So play him for a quarter, show he's one of the guys like Brady always did, especially in the preseason, and then see what you have in Milton, okay? But listen, my last point, the bigger issue is what to do with Mayo, okay? So he's been terrible. He's been terrible on culture. He's been terrible on player improvement. He's been terrible with the media. He hasn't taken any accountability. The only question I think we need to ask right now on the future of Mayo is this. If we let him go, would he even get a defensive coordinator position? Because if the answer is no, what are we doing? We have a head coach that nobody even wants as a D coordinator. So curious to hear your thoughts. Thanks, guys. Happy New Year.
All right, Steve, thank you. Appreciate the kind words about the pod. Thank you for the phone call. Apologies to Steve's wife. The rest of your day hopefully will go well. We did not mean to keep him on hold as long. Would Gerard Mayo, Greg, get a DC job if he was fired on Monday?
I'm not going to totally rule it out, but I would say doubtful. And in fact, I think somebody asked me this at BSJ in one of my members' chats. Out of the top people in this franchise, Mayo, Wolf, Van Pelt, DeMarcus Covington, if they were all fired tomorrow and available, who would get the best job? And in my opinion, it would be Elliot Wolf, that he would be hired as a number 2 in another organization. I think that Mayo would be a position coach. I think that Van Pelt would be a QB coach somewhere. And I think DeMarcus Covington would be a defensive line or some sort of position coach somewhere else. One point that he brought up, and I think another caller brought it up, about Bill Belichick at the end. I remember last year, and we probably had this conversation on the podcast, we were all, when, Tommy Curran was reporting that Bill was out, and he said that it was likely that it was going to be Mayo. But once we found out that there was actual succession language in his contract, I basically threw a conniption fit, and I said I would rather keep Bill. So I said at the time, so let me get this straight. From a 4-13 team, you are going to fire Bill Belichick, promote a position coach to be head coach. You're going to promote the GM, one of the personnel guys to be GM, who I have respect for his resume. So basically, you're just going to subtract Bill Belichick, and you think this is a path forward for the Patriots. I said, you're crazy. That's ridiculous. If that was the plan, if the succession language was in the contract, I would have said, no, it's too early. We're not doing this. Bill, you're coming back. You're giving up personnel control. You could stay or not. It's up to you. But the idea that you were just going to subtract Bill Belichick, and they thought this. The Crafts really thought people were going to be freed up. The energy was going to be better. It was going to be a new day with North Stars and murals and all this stuff. And they really thought things were going to be better this year.
They're
out of their freaking minds. They were at the time. I said it. Other people said it. That you were just going to remove Bill Belichick. That was your plan. Remove Bill, and you were going to get better as a franchise. Complete joke.
Save the murals. What would we do without the murals? Love a good mural. Oh, God. It's so bad. I wish it wasn't this bad. And I know all of you agree. None of us want it to be this bad. This is awful. There's no lipstick in the world that you could put on this pig to make you feel better. None. The most expensive lipstick. Just nothing. 617-779-0985. We'll keep talking about Vrabel. We'll keep talking about Drake May playing on Sunday. We'll get your thoughts. I promise I'm going to get to some YouTube comments at some point here. I promise you, YouTube
That
people.
is always dangerous in my experience.
Well, Kyle's going to pull them, and so we'll have a filter. We don't want people yelling at you, Greg, or me.
Mostly me.
We'll have a filter. But we'll get to that, 617-779-0985. But before we get back to the football, Bedard is not just a wet blanket, folks. So it's time to get to Greg Bedard. Who are you? What is that? Find out next.
Fun, Greg?
Boston's home for sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Happy New Year to you and yours. We appreciate every single one of you. For those who listen to our podcast that we do or watch it, we appreciate you as well. Before we get back to the football, Greg has been called a wet blanket. I think people believe that Greg, when he leaves the studio, he goes home and he just fires up the film, and that's what he lives for. He has nothing else in his life. So I figured that we would go through some of your top 5 things that you enjoy, and we have certain categories. I was going to do music, but Greg...
Well, we could do it. Whatever.
Greg wanted to start with TV shows. He wants to start with TV shows. Do we have any kind of music, Fabrizio, to put underneath us here so it's not just two guys talking and seems dry and not fun, no pace? So, TV shows. For the record, I don't know Greg's answers. Any of them. I don't know his top 5 in any of these categories. Okay? This will be a surprise to me like it will be a surprise to you. So, Greg, let's begin with TV shows, and let's start from 5 and go to 1.
Oh, okay. We're starting off at the bottom.
Yeah, we start from the bottom. Started from the bottom, now we're here. 5, TV show.
So, I'm going to give you a few honorable mentions. First of all, a ton of TV shows. I love watching TV
so.
with my wife. Sometimes, like right now, we're watching Lincoln Lawyer with the kids as well. Love that show on Netflix. But I will say, my honorable mention, Homicide: Life on the Street.
Okay.
This was one of my big shows in high school, college. It is now on Peacock. I am rewatching it. I love that show. Ozarks.
Oh, Ozark was so good.
Yeah.
Ozark. Did you have a problem with how Ozark ended? Some people did.
I did not.
I did not either.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it stayed true to the characters.
Yes.
I was fine with it. All right.
Friday Night Lights.
Never saw it.
What? The TV show?
I know. I'm upset.
Holy cow. Yeah. You and Kelly have to watch this.
Okay.
I mean, it is phenomenal. Eric and Tammy Taylor is probably one of the best portrayals of a marriage.
Tammy Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
On television.
What a name.
And a longtime favorite of me and my wife, Law & Order: Criminal Intent.
Yes,
Vincent D'Onofrio, one of the best detective characters on television.
I can listen. I've heard you say a lot of terrible things. I've heard you have a lot of terrible takes, knowing you for years. You've had some good ones mixed in. That is your best take of all time. I love that show, and I love him. His character was outstanding.
You know what I'm bummed about? That, like, we have one of those series recorders for Criminal Intent. So no matter where it was on, you could find it on IFC.
Yeah.
There was a different channel that it was on.
Yep.
Reruns. And we would tape it, and we would constantly watch it. Still.
Yes.
They've stopped running the reruns.
Really?
It's been, like, we've had the same, 8 shows on our DVR for, 6 months. Somebody needs to bring it back somewhere.
That show kicked ass.
And I just discovered the other day, and I'm trying to figure out a way to watch it. There is a Law & Order: Criminal Intent Toronto.
Really?
Which I would be interested in seeing, but I'm not Canadian, so trying to figure out. So, anyways, back to my list. Number 5.
Number 5.
Game of Thrones: House of Dragon.
Never saw
Just
it.
sort of my guilty pleasure, fun, big set pieces, very entertaining.
So I not a Game of Thrones guy. Not a Game of Thrones.
I didn't think I would be either. I'm not into these sort of medievalish, whatever.
Okay.
I'm not, but it's really good. I got to say. Number 4.
Number 4.
Which my wife and I just finished rewatching, I think for the 4th time. Handmaid's Tale on Hulu.
What is it?
Handmaid's Tale. The Handmaid's Tale. Very dark. Sort of a possible peek into our future.
Really?
Pretty disturbing, but incredible direction, incredible performances in the show.
It's a Hulu show, huh?
Yep.
Handmaid's
Tale. It's pretty dark.
Okay.
It's not a fun time, but it's good.
it's not going to have you doing jumping jacks, but it's good. All right. So show number 3.
Breaking Bad. Have rewatched that, I don't know, 4 or 5 times.
I watched the first episode. Kelly was out. So I have
takes a little while.
I have not watched it since, but I want to. It's on my list of things that I need to binge watch.
Yeah, Walter White, Jesse Pinkman, just tremendous. So number 2.
Number 2.
Seinfeld. Has to be on there. has to be on there.
I just went to go see him at Foxwoods.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Hell of a time.
The wife and I saw him in West Palm Beach when we were down there. It was great. But, I mean, I can watch Seinfeld forever. It never
that show
gets
is
old.
Awesome. It's awesome.
Great. It never fails to make me laugh. I don't care how many times I see the episode.
It is tremendous. One of the best shows of all time. Terrible finale, but one of the best shows of all time. Show number 1?
The Sopranos.
Oh.
Have rewatched
Never
that a
saw
ton
it.
of times. You know, it brings me, it reminds me of Rutgers, being in New Jersey, the people that I went to college with. I love The Sopranos, never get tired of it. Just a great, great show.
All right, so
I hated the way that ended, by the way, that one. And by the way, my opinion, at the end of the series, the viewers got whacked, not Tony. Tony didn't die.
Oh, all
we
right.
died.
All right. I never watched the show. I'm disgusted I've never watched the show. I saw how it ended, and it kind of made me not want to watch the show. So I never watched it. But quick recap, top 5. Do it again. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. What we got?
So Game of Thrones, House of Dragon, Handmaid's Tale, Breaking Bad, Seinfeld, and The Sopranos.
All right. I'm going to tweet that out, get people see how they feel about your top
Already got
5.
Lauren Green tweeted in Handmaid's Tale with 3 fire emojis. Fire!
Apparently it's a good show.
Oh, it's awesome.
All right, we'll keep talking Patriots. He's Bedard. I'm Cattles. 98.5 The Sports Hub, back in 90 seconds.
WBZ-FM and HD Boston.
Patriots!
From the opening kickoff to the final play.
Touchdown!
Your home of the pass. 98.5 The Sports Hub. Beasley Media Group Station. Sports Hub headlines.
Patriots look to end this absolutely miserable season on Sunday against the Buffalo Bills. Drake May spoke to the media. Drake May is going to play. What do you think about that, Patriots fans? May will be out there on Sunday. In other NFL news, the Dallas Cowboys released Zeke Elliott so he can sign with the playoff team. And Taylor Swift's boyfriend, Travis Kelce, he led all players in fan balloting for the 2025 Pro Bowl. Celtics crushed the Raptors yesterday at the Garden, 125-71. They play the T-Wolves tomorrow night in Minnesota. Bruins lost to the Capitals in D.C. yesterday, 3-1. They will play the New York Rangers at MSG tomorrow night. I'm tired of the Bruins and Celtics playing on the same night. It's bothering me. Finally, Penn State beat Boise State last night, 31-14. Nittany Lions now head to the college football playoff semifinal. They'll play the winner of Notre Dame, Georgia later tonight. By the way, Texas, Arizona State just about to get underway. And then at 5 o'clock, you've got Ohio State, for Michael Holley will say, the Ohio State against Oregon. Headlines are brought to you by 495 Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, Ram, and Lowell. Don't miss their wrap-up-the-year sales event where you could drive home in an all-new Jeep Wrangler 4xE plug-in hybrid with $3,000 in savings and 0% financing for 72 months. Visit 495 Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, Ram, and Lowell or 495jeep.com. I'm Nick Cattles on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Next headlines at 1:30.
Boston, the greatest sports town in America.
We have a farm. I have about 200 pigs here.
We got to spill beers on each other without worrying about spilling beers on people.
Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. When it comes to Boston sports, we're fans just like you. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Back to your phone calls in just a few moments. I know you have thoughts. Some of you may want to vent. It's all good. We understand. Or at least we're trying to understand. Cattles, Bedard, 98.5 The Sports Hub on this New Year's Day. Happy New Year to all of you. Hopefully you had a fantastic night. Greg and I went a little quiet last night because we had the show to do today. But I will say today is my New Year's Eve. I was saying this to Kyle Fabrizio earlier before the show. Today is my New Year's Eve because last night I didn't go balls to the wall. But I've got college football today. When I leave this studio, I'm going home. I'm firing up college football. My craft beer fridge is ready for me to invade it and crush it. It's going to happen. I might feel terrible tomorrow, but I have already embraced the idea. So today is my New Year's Eve.
Are you going to get jiggy with it? Any dancing or anything?
Can we never have Greg Bedard ever say "get jiggy with it" again? Can we never? Can we just? I feel like we just set the program back at least 10 years.
Come on, Jerry Seinfeld said it in Seinfeld.
I've said this before. Okay. I said this to Phil Perry. I try to say this with humility, Greg, but I can cut a rug. I've been known to sling some tiles, as they say back in the day.
A bunch of bull crap.
No, my wedding. I'm telling you, the feet were on fire. My wedding. Zoe left before I started dancing. I think that's a good thing because Zoe would have made it sound awful anyway, no matter what. But yeah, I do it. All right, before I get to your phone calls, we're talking about two things today. Tony Pauline from Sportskeeda reporting that Mike Vrabel wants to be the Patriots head coach. It's his number one choice. It's the job that he wants. Your thoughts with that? Also, Drake May will play on Sunday. Do you agree or disagree? I have a poll out there on Twitter. You can follow Greg. I'm sure pretty much all of you do, at Greg A. Bedard. You can follow me. I'm sure not many of you do, at Nick C. Radio. Again, at Nick C. Radio. Here's the poll question. Do you agree with playing Drake May on Sunday? ? Patriots. Have you looked at this poll yet, Greg?
I have not.
Okay, so don't look at it.
Okay.
Because I want to ask you. Option A is yes. Option B is no. How do you think it splits? Do you agree with playing Drake May on Sunday? The percentage, yes versus no.
You mean the wackos who follow you on Twitter? I would say it's 75% do not play Drake May, 25% play him.
Look at you. Not too shabby. Not too shabby, Greg. 77.1% say no.
Boom.
22.9% say
See,
yes.
I know Nick's wackos better than anybody.
At Bram Bray, at Nick C. Radio, great. The organization's least valuable asset willing to put its most valuable asset at jeopardy to try to save the former's sorry ass is ridiculous. Let's see. We got Ty Stakes at Nick C. Radio. Why would you sit your rookie quarterback? The whole season has been meaningless, as in the playoffs were never going to happen. What makes this week any different? C. Merck 5 at Nick C. Radio. If we had a better O-line and he didn't take a shot to the head last week, I'd be more open to it. It's a meaningless game, and Mayo should be fired on the spot if Drake May plays. We've got Adam Liberman 4. The season was over many weeks ago. If he played last week, he should play this week. Jamie Blanchette. Sadly, players and coaches don't tank. Respectfully, AMD. Last thing we need is May to get injured to impact his offseason development. That's a great point. You want him to develop. You want him to continue to work on his mechanics and his footwork and all of those things. If he gets hurt, he won't be able to do that. Matt U. Urban, for a quarter, half, sure. Let the play determine how quick to pull him. If the offensive line looks like a sieve, take him out. The colors, if Mayo can't beat the Bills' backups with his starting quarterback, then he definitely deserves to be fired. B-Ball Brian, 22, needs to be a riot at Patriot Place if Mayo F's around and wins this game. Pats fan 1289. It doesn't really matter. Team is so bad. Staff couldn't put coach a high school. I guess it's dumb just because if he tears his ACL, no point in even showing up next year. So I guess no. And then Matt Finnes says this organization is a total clown show. Greg, is the organization a total clown show?
Absolutely. You are now the joke that you thought other franchises were during your run. It's that bad. By the way, one thing I wanted to mention about the whole pull Drake May type of thing.
Yes.
So rewatching the game, in the fourth quarter of the game, because it was a blowout, I was writing. I wasn't really paying attention to what was going on in the fourth quarter. But rewatching the game, I think it was towards the end of the third quarter, I was like, okay, all right, get him out of there now. Like, this is a joke. The Patriots obviously have no idea how to block the Chargers. The Chargers they're still coming after Drake May. Alex Van Pelt obviously isn't going to make protecting Drake May a priority, just trying to get out of this game healthy, so pull him. And I was like, wait, he's going back out there. Then I looked at the game sheet, and I'm like, he played 2 more series? After the game was over,
Ridiculous.
He was getting his ass kicked. Like,
Ridiculous.
What are we doing?
Saturday, I said this. I said this a couple times over the weekend with Don Darrow. I think I said it on Monday with Leroy and Cerrone. If you just needed one thing, one example of how this program has been completely incompetent, it was Saturday, leaving Drake May in the game, down by 30 with 6:14 left, after he took a hit to the head earlier in the game and got tested for a concussion. Down 30, 6 minutes left. Why is he out there? Even more ridiculous, Greg. Two things. Even more ridiculous. Gerard Mayo found it appropriate to replace Mike Owenu before he replaced your franchise quarterback. You took out your best offensive lineman, and you thought it made sense to take him out of the game, but not take Drake May out of the game. On top of that, Drake May is in the game with 6:14 left, down by 30, and then you take him out down 33 with 4 minutes left. So I ask you, Gerard, what the hell is the difference? If you're playing him down by 30 with 6 minutes left, then why don't you play him down by 33 with 4 minutes left? What is it? Too many times, Greg, this year, I look at some of these decisions by Mayo, and I truly, and I'm not trying to be a dink, okay? Honestly, genuinely, I find myself asking if he's flipping a coin to make the decision because it just doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't calculate whatsoever.
Mm-hmm. And one of my frustrations this year, and with Mayo, and sort of the way he went about getting this job. I mean, I made the point on Monday. After his second season as assistant coach, his agent planted a story in the Houston Chronicle heralding Gerard Mayo as the next great potential head coaching hire. It's utterly ridiculous. 2 years into your coaching staff.
I'm glad
coaching. And I just want to say, these guys who go about it, like Dan Campbell, who had been an assistant for us 11 years before he got this for his first permanent head coaching job. These guys are all doing it step by step. They're thinking about how I can get better every day, how I can be ready for the job once I get there and not fall on my face. Instead, other people are worried about just getting the job instead of doing what you need to do to get the job. And now we are seeing Mayo's shortcomings. He wasn't ready for this. It's quite evident to everybody. And grow into the job. Who freaking grows into the job? Like, either you have it or you don't as a coach. And right now, he doesn't have it. That doesn't mean he's not going to have it in 10 years from now. But right now, he doesn't have it. And the chances of him getting appreciably better in the next year, 2, I'm sorry, they're not good enough for me not to look at what else is out there.
All right, let's go to the incredibly patient Sasha in Brighton. Hey, Sasha.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me on. Big fan, Greg. I love your reporting.
Thanks,
I just wanted to like hypothetically, obviously if we lose next week, we're going to have the first pick. And what do you think a trade back from pick 1 to, I don't know, pick wherever Vegas would be picking, pick 7 or 8 would look like, Greg?
All right, Sasha, thank you for the phone call. I'm glad you asked that question. I know you asked Greg, but I'm going to pump the tires of Alex Barth here for a minute because Alex actually tweeted earlier this week about what it would take, and he looked at some of the last time a first overall pick was traded, the last 2 trades. Okay, so here's an idea, Sasha. Thanks to Alex Barth for this. So the Panthers obviously had that trade with Chicago, Greg. They traded the first overall pick. The Bears in return gave Carolina the 9th overall pick in 2023. So they swapped first and 9th. The Bears got the 61st overall pick, so a 2023 second. So they swapped first, they got a second. They got a first the next year in 2024. They got a second a year after that, and they got DJ Moore. So the last time the number 1 pick was traded in the draft, the Bears got a second-round pick, a first-round pick the next year, a second-round pick 2 years removed, and then DJ Moore as well. When you look back, Greg, even further, as Barth did, you go to 2016. So before the 23 trade, you go to 2016. That was the Rams-Titans deal.
Was that the Jared Goff trade?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the Rams got the first overall pick. They got 4th and 6th round picks. The Titans got second-round picks, 2 of them. So they got 2 seconds. They got a third. And then they got a first and a third the next year. So that's how it worked out. So the Rams went from 15 to 1. The Titans dropped down, from 1 to 15, which is a big drop. And they got 2 second-round picks, a third-round pick in that draft. And then the next draft, they got a first and a third. But the Rams also had to, they also got a 4th and a 6th to go along with the first overall. So those are the last 2 trades that involved the number 1 pick overall. How far would you be willing to go down, Greg, if you were the Patriots? Did you care? Do you care about staying in the top 10? Or do you say, I'm just going to take the best package and I couldn't care less?
Yeah, I need to stay in the top 10. Yeah, and, it's interesting. I do think, just looking at the 2016 draft, I do think that's a good comp of a draft, because my first instinct is to say the quarterback prospects are not good enough in this draft to get, what the Bryce Young trade.
Yeah.
But you look at the 2016 draft, Jared Goff, I don't think was a great prospect. Carson Wentz went right after him out of wherever that was, North Dakota State.
Yeah.
But I do think I would be happy with I want to get a top 10 pick, and I want to get a second or a third this year and a future first. If I do that and stay in the top 10, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I think you have to get a second this year and a first next year to go along with maybe some other sugar, so to speak, to make that deal happen. And of course, if you get the first pick overall, I mean, it's obviously the best situation because you have every team fighting for that pick if they like Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders, whoever they like. Now, Tennessee's sitting there at 2. They're going to need a quarterback. So maybe they like both guys and they just stick and pick. But Cleveland's got to make a decision. Deshaun Watson, we've all seen him play. The Giants, right? The Jets, what are they going to do with Aaron Rodgers? How's that look? Vegas is the obvious one at number 8. So if you're looking at teams, and even New Orleans at 10, if 10 is the end game, Greg, and that's as far as you want to drop down, you've got Cleveland, unless you get Tennessee. Again, if Tennessee loves somebody and they want to draft that guy, you could have Tennessee, Cleveland, the Giants, the Jets, and the Raiders and the Saints. So that's 6 quarterback-worthy teams in the top 10 that you could move down the board and really play the game. If you want the number 1 pick, you got to give me a haul.
Yeah, but what people also need to understand is, say the Patriots have the first overall pick. Everybody knows they're not taking a quarterback.
Right. Yep.
So they can call your bluff. You're not going to get as much as these other teams where, those teams could draft a quarterback, but they decided they wanted to do more. They traded down. But everybody knows the Patriots aren't going to draft a quarterback. So why not just trade into number 2 and get that spot, call the Patriots bluff, go to number 2, then Patriots are stuck and they have to take, the best overall.
We got a lot more Patriots talk in the chamber. Nick Cattles, Greg Bedard, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
You going to get jiggy with it?
Boston's home for sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
at Nick C Radio. Loved the L&I criminal intent shout. Gorn and Eames better than Benson and Stabler, and it's not even close.
That would be in reference to Law & Order Special Victims Unit, something else I also watch, which is a high-quality show as well, but not as good as Criminal Intent.
Fabrizio, I don't know if you're ready for this. I don't even know if you can hear me right now. The jiggy with it thing. So, Drake May times 2. Greg Bedard saying get jiggy with it is the worst thing anyone has said on air at 98.5 since Gerard Mayo told us Antonio Gibson would start Saturday.
You're going to get jiggy with it? At least that wasn't that long ago. So,
oh, God. He does say great show today, though. So he does say that. He does say that. So I appreciate it. I'm looking at all the Twitter action. I just threw it out there. Greg's top 5 TV shows. Number 5 was Game of Thrones, House of Dragon. Number 4 was The Handmaid's Tale. Number 3 was Breaking Bad. Number 2 was Seinfeld. Number 1 was The Sopranos. I ask you how you feel about that list. Vinny210 at Nick C Radio at Greg A. Bedard, top 2 right on the money. Good list. So far, so good, Greg. Got a thumbs up. We'll see if you get more thumbs up. We will get back to your phone calls on the Patriots. 2 things we're talking about today. According to Tony Pauline from Sportskeeda, Mike Vrabel has the Patriots at the top of his list. So we've heard that Vrabel is interested. We've heard that he would not mind speaking with Kraft. Now we get from Tony Pauline that Vrabel wants the job. It's at the top of his list. So your thoughts on that. Also, Drake May is going to play on Sunday. Thumbs up, thumbs down for that decision. I am thumbs down. Greg is thumbs up. I've told the YouTube people that I will get to some of their comments and questions. So here we go, quickly. Little lightning round before we get back to some calls. Archie Nemesis. The other day, Bedard mentioned Mayo's agent putting a fake story out about Mayo being a hothead coaching commodity in the New Year's years ago. In the news years ago. There we go. Was Kraft fooled by this story?
No. And first of all, it wasn't a fake story. I mean, I do think it was a legitimate story. It was just ridiculously early. At the time, the Texans, I think it was published towards the tail end of the season when Bill O'Brien got fired. So they were going into a coaching search. I don't think Kraft was fooled on that. I do think that Kraft was fooled by interest in Mayo around the league. For him to keep him here, he was not a hot commodity. I don't care what. I've talked to people who their organizations interviewed Mayo. He was not a hot commodity anywhere in the league. And look, even if he was, and it only takes one team. And I know the Eagles have talked well about Mayo in his interview.
Yeah,
but go get the job offer.
Yep.
I'm not signing anything unless you have a job offer. That's all these other succession plans that went around the Rooney Rule, all of them, I think there were 4 other instances, all of them were when a sitting head coach was set to retire and they didn't want the top lieutenant to leave. That did not happen in this situation.
Kevin Stewart, Mayo and these coordinators will not attract players in free agency. Vrabel can. Do you buy that? Mike Vrabel make you more of a destination?
A little bit, but I just disagree with the notion that you need to have X, Y, and Z to get free agents. Look, T. Higgins. If T. Higgins is out there and the Patriots offered him $5 million more than anybody else, he's coming here. It doesn't matter what else is going on, who the head coach is. Drake May helps. He does. But just offer the most money.
Brother Bluetooth. If you want to hire Vrabel, that's fine, but at least do all the interviews this time to acquire as much information as you can from other teams. You know, Greg, this is something we talked about that fakakta process by Kraft 10 months ago or so.
You mean no process?
The fact that the fact that you did not interview really anybody, right? You didn't interview anyone. It hurt you in the moment in real time because you just gave the job to Gerard. But it also hurt your future because now you're in a situation, let's say that you want to move on from Mayo. You don't have the info, you don't have the intel that you could have gathered on some of these head coaching prospects 10 months ago. So now you're behind. If you had it, you could interview everybody, you could write notes down and say, okay, and make your own internal list. If Gerard Mayo doesn't work out, here's our top 3 guys we go after. You didn't do it. it's a complete failure.
Oh yeah, it would just another example of the hubris from the Crafts, thinking that the last time they looked at anybody, and they didn't really look around that much. I mean, they traded for Bill Belichick. 25 years. They had no idea about the NFL landscape for the last 25 years. They had an opportunity. Look, if you thought Gerard was going to be the guy, fine. But tell him, like, Gerard, yeah, I know we have the succession language in your contract. This was going to be early for you. We are going to look around. We are going to speak to the best and the brightest. And if you measure up, great. We'll follow through on the contract. If not, we're hiring somebody else. This is just what's in the best interest of the franchise. But, of course, the Crafts just said, we're great at what we do. We're not going to interview anybody. I'm going to go with my gut. Like, that's our search firm.
By the way, update from Evan Lazar at the practice field right now. Christian Gonzalez is absent. That's expected. He's still in the concussion protocol, according to Gerard Mayo today. Jalen Polk is not out there, shoulder. Kayshon Boutte is not out there. That's an unknown. And Ben Brown, not out there, still dealing with his concussion. So Gonzalez, Polk, Boutte, Brown are the guys who are absent from that practice, according to Evan Lazar.
By the way, I would feel much better about Drake May playing in this game if Ben Brown was out there. Now, I will say Cole Strange did fine. His pass blocking was actually pretty good. He had a bit of a rough time in the run blocking, and also we know about the early snap that led to Drake May basically getting decapitated.
All right, let's go to Rob in Shrewsbury. Hey, Rob.
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call, and Happy New Year to you both.
Happy New Year, bud.
I agree with several other callers. I really enjoy your weekly show on YouTube. It's really informative and very entertaining, so I really appreciate you guys' work. One point and two quick questions. My point is, if Mr. Kraft is listening, I hope he is, that if Mike Vrabel is actually interested in this job and he doubles down with Gerard Mayo after this season, then he can never claim to be the good steward of this franchise for the fans. This has become a vanity project for him, because it's an absolute embarrassment. It really is. So my two quick questions are, I don't know if either of you know, but how has the season ticket waiting list changed since, say, Tom Brady went to Tampa? And how has that affected the value of the franchise? And second, really for Greg, how has the media let Gerard Mayo absolutely skate on every one of these press conferences, and by just saying basically, we have to be better. We're going to be better.
All right, Rob.
Go ahead.
Let me jump in, bud. We're up against it. Thank you. I appreciate the phone call and the kind words. I will get to those two questions for Greg coming up. The season tickets and Mayo and skating, the idea that he's skating with the media. We'll get to those two questions. We also want to continue to talk about Vrabel and talk about the idea of Drake May playing on Sunday. So we have a lot more to talk about. We got 30 minutes left. Cattles and Bedard right here on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Sports Hub headlines.
Patriots are set to play their final game of the 2024 season against the Bills on Sunday. Gerard Mayo spoke with the media, as did Drake May. Drake May is going to play this game this weekend. Absent from practice, Christian Gonzalez, concussion. Jalen Polk, shoulder. Kayshon Boutte, unknown. And Ben Brown. and that's the key. You got through it. We have 20 more minutes or so to get through this show. I will get to a couple of YouTube comments. I want to run through some calls, too. A little bit of a lightning round here. But Rob, he waited.
I don't think it would weigh on the decision right now because I don't think there's that much of an impact to their financial bottom line right now. I'm sure there's been a little bit of a hit, but I think that would be more if this continues on into next year. You really start to see apathy set in. The Patriots start to become the Red Sox in terms of people tuning them out, doing other things instead of watching the games. That's what you would worry about.
The second question Rob had was about Mayo. Why is he skating, in his words, at these press conferences?
I don't think that he has. I think that the people down there have done a really great job of asking the pertinent questions. I'm not down there every day. Giardi is most of the time for us. And I also like to stay a little detached because, I like to keep it at arm's length so that I can give people an unbiased look at their team and give them an honest opinion. But I do think those people down there have done a good job. I mean, it's really hard in the moment, having been in those shoes, to hear a question, to all of a sudden, ask a question, a follow-up where you're just like, what the hell did you mean by that?
Yeah,
Gerard, like that didn't make any sense. That's hard to do. But I think everybody's done a good job down there. I don't think he's skated. I think they have held his feet to the fire, and I think he's been feeling it this year.
Couple YouTube comments. If they did fire Mayo, who would hire him? That is really the pathetic part of all of this. We talked about it earlier. Maybe Gerard gets a DC job somewhere, possibly, maybe, but not likely. DJ says, we talk a lot about upside with Drake May. What is the upside with Mayo?
I have no idea. That's part of the problem.
Yep. Part of the many problems.
Again, if the defense just, we know they were 9th in DVOA, and I've heard people like Cerrone talk about, like, look at the quarterbacks they played. That's why I look at DVOA, because it takes a lot of that stuff into account. With the injury situation and whatnot, I would be okay if they went down in the teens somewhere, 15, 16, 18. Okay, fine. 30th, 31st, 32nd in defense. Sorry, not good enough. That's an indictment on Mayo. He at least needed to hold serve somewhat on defense, where we could say, okay, Gerard at least knows what he's doing on the defensive side of the ball. They need maybe better coaching, certainly more talent on the offensive side. I could see where this is going, but that this whole thing has regressed in just about every way other than special teams. Just can't sit well with anybody.
All right, let's go to Jim in Virginia. Hey, Jim.
Hey, good afternoon, guys. Thanks for taking my call. Big fan, listen to your weekly podcasts and your podcast as well, Nick, that you do with Solo. 2 points on what you've been asking. I hope we do get Vrabel. I'd hoped we got in him last year. I feel like we got a second chance, which you don't often get. So it's like fool me once, fool me twice. I hope it doesn't pass us again. As far as letting May play, I'm kind of with Greg on this one, but with a big caveat, as you would say on your podcast, Nick. Only a series, 2 series at most. Let him get in there, get the start. Maybe he'll build a streak for starting. But as soon as Allen gets out of there, pull May. And a quick question for you guys before I let you have it. What would be your opinion on taking a wide receiver with our first pick? Because I'm scared. I'm hoping we get one in free agency, but I'm hoping we don't use our first pick on a wide receiver. Thanks very much, and have a happy New Year.
All right, Jim, thank you for the kind words. Appreciate you. Happy New Year. If it's Travis Hunter, I would like it. I think he's the best player in this draft right now. And look, we're going to have time from now until late April. I think he's the best player, the most electrifying player. If he wants to play wide receiver full-time, which we don't know, if he wants to be a cornerback full-time, I'm a little less in love with that idea of drafting him because you got a Gonzalez and you've got a lot of other holes. But Travis Hunter as a one receiver, to me, he's not an X guy. He's not going to play the X, but he's explosive, and he's really good. He's got great hands. I'd be cool with Travis Hunter. Tet McMillan, I don't think he deserves to be, in the neighborhood of, top 5, top 6, top 7. I would much rather look at an Abdul Carter, for example, from Penn State, the edge. I obviously tackle with Kelvin Banks. How long are the arms of Will Campbell? I'd be looking at those guys before I look at wide receiver 2. Greg, how about you?
Yeah, I just need to know, first of all, and I think we said this the other day, we'll know a lot more about what they need to do in the draft after free agency. That comes first. So we'll know where the gaping holes are on this roster. Were they able to get an offensive tackle, a veteran to come in here? Did they completely restock the offensive line? Did they sign a guard as well? Then it leaves you a little bit open. I need to know the path to a tackle, a starting offensive tackle, before I entertain.
Like Ronnie Stanley. Stanley's a free agent.
Yeah.
If he leaves Baltimore and you just you back up the Brinks, then the idea of a Banks is a lot less sexy to you.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think one of the lessons they learned this year is, we need to attack the depth on the offensive line. We need to leave ourselves options because somebody's going to get hurt or what have you. So we need to leave ourselves various outs. Like, I think if they had to do it all over again, they probably would have signed. I didn't mind the Okorafor thing. Obviously didn't work out, but I see why they did it. They just should also sign Jonah Williams. Spent the money on Jonah Williams. If one works out, great. If they both do, awesome. They put too many eggs into too few baskets with the amount of money that they had. I will say that, as far as Travis Hunter goes, and I guess Jay Glazer polled GMs, and 90% of them said that he's a cornerback in the National Football League.
Yeah.
Will probably contribute some on offense. But I will say, after this last game and the way Jonathan Jones performed in this game, I'm now definitely not against adding another stud cornerback. I mean, it's a pretty good way to start your defense.
It's not bad. And I would play Hunter at both. What I would do is wide receiver, right? He's going to get the brunt of snaps there. But on third down, red zone, critical situations, I'm throwing him out there at corner, and you've got those two boundary corners in Christian Gonzalez and Travis Hunter. That makes it difficult on any offense. Kevin and Hingham's up next. What's up, Kevin?
Hey, guys. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year,
I asked this question in the YouTube chat earlier, so you kind of already touched upon it, but just to clarify a little bit more. So I think we talk a lot about the upside of Drake May, and I think Pat's Nation is very excited at the possibility of like a Josh Allen 2.0. But I'm struggling to see the upside of Gerard Mayo. And I feel like this has to go into the Kraft's decision process making at the end of the year. Who is the comparison to Gerard Mayo that would lead to the Patriots keeping him? And what is the potential upside of Gerard Mayo in its entirety? Because I'm really struggling to see it.
Right. Kevin, thank you for your patience. Appreciate the phone call. Happy New Year. Look, there's nothing that tells us that Gerard Mayo is going to be a success. Point blank, period, end of sentence. There's nothing that tells us he's going to be a success. He has not improved throughout this year. The team's actually gotten worse. Culture's not there. The dealing with the media, the messaging has been bad. The in-game strategy's been terrible. Lack of preparation. I mean, we could list 15 to 20 things. There's other than blind faith, there is nothing that tells us that Gerard Mayo is capable of doing this job. And we talked about it earlier, the names like Dan Campbell and all these other names that get thrown out there, those guys had decidedly more experience than Gerard did before taking the job. And so not only do you have somebody who doesn't look like he's getting better at all, at much of anything, if anything, you've got somebody who was completely unqualified to begin with. So there's just nothing there. All right, we're going to wrap up the show with some fun. Cattles and Bedard, 98.5, The Sports Hub.
Boston's home for sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Greg Bedard, who are you, is what we're playing here. And the first segment of this game, if you want to call it a game, Greg gave us his top 5 TV shows. Game of Thrones, House of Dragon was number 5. Number 4 was The Handmaid's Tale. Number 3 was Breaking Bad. Number 2 was Seinfeld. Number 1 was The Sopranos. Some reaction to that on Twitter. Some good, some bad.
By the way, I want to say I completely whiffed on The Wire. The Wire should have been on. I probably would have bumped Handmaid's Tale for The Wire. That was just a complete whiff by me. It's a show I've watched at least 3 times, front to back. I love that show.
Little mea culpa before the end of the show by Greg. Let's see. Brian _W_Keen at Nick C Radio. You can follow me on Twitter at Nick C Radio. You can follow Greg at Greg A. Bedard. I assume his wife made him include Handmaid's Tale.
No. I love that show.
M Sizzle 83. If this is a most overrated list, he nailed it, especially the top 3.
Some people would say I'm overrated.
All right. That's true. I'd be one of those. No, just kidding, Greg. I appreciate you. Even though you showed up late today, the old I got locked out excuse.
Yep.
The old I got locked out. All right, so let's do this here. Let's do this. Greg Bedard, who are you? I want to ask you, Greg, for your top 5 list of people you would love to meet, past, present. They could be no longer with us. They could be with us. Your top 5.
So you want me to start at number 5?
Number 5. Let's start there.
Okay, so I'm a coaching junkie. I coach a lot of youth sports, obviously what I do. I'm trying to figure out who I'd want to talk to coaching. John Wooden definitely came up. I went with Dawn Staley, University of South Carolina basketball, women's basketball. I think I think she is the best coach in the country in any sport right now.
Okay, so Dawn Staley, number 5. Number 4.
Number 4. So I've met a lot of my sports heroes. Jim Rice was my favorite Red Sox player growing up. Bobby Orr, Dan Marino was my favorite football player.
Boo! Marino.
The one person I have not met that I would love to meet is Larry Bird.
Larry Joe Bird.
Mm-hmm.
You could just go to Indiana and find him. I'm sure he's just
French
hanging
Lick.
out.
When I go to the Combine or whatever, I'm just going to drive to French Lick and pound out the store. Yeah.
So Larry Bird, number 4. All right, number 3, as far as people that Greg Bedard would love to meet.
Martin Luther King Jr.
Yeah, buddy.
I mean, he's got to be on the list.
I think he's my number 1.
Yeah, he's definitely up there.
He's very, very, I would say he's my number 1. All right, number 2.
Abraham Lincoln.
Oh, little top hat Abraham Lincoln action.
Absolutely.
So Lincoln, MLK, I mean, this is shaping up to be a very strong top 3. Very strong top 3. You better knock it out of the park with one. Okay, if you got MLK at 3 and Lincoln at 2, you better hit a bomb with this one. All right, number 1.
So this is more personal for me. I would like to meet my grandparents.
Oh.
That both my mother and father
look at
lost
Bedard pulling at the heartstrings here on New Year's Day.
My dad lost his father. My mother lost her mother. When they were young, when they were teenagers, and apparently they were phenomenal people. Obviously, I never got a chance to meet them, and I would love that. My grandfather, Rainey Bedard, had his own construction crew in Athol, Massachusetts, had his own store called Rainey's Variety, Main Street, Athol, Massachusetts.
Yep.
They used to have the band on like Friday night or whatever. He'd get his popcorn machine out, just go around giving people popcorn, talking the BS. He could BS like anybody else. I definitely know where my dad's gotten it from. But, yeah, my grandparents, I would definitely love to spend some time with.
That's a fantastic answer. All right, I guess we got some time here. So I know you didn't want to do music.
Okay.
But let's do music. Why the hell not? Got a couple of minutes. So give us your top 5 musical acts.
So number 5, I would go right now, Taylor Swift and Pink.
That's why we do this. Greg Bedard is a Taylor Swift fan.
I like some of her music.
Okay.
I would definitely like to see her on tour, the Eras thing. Too Rich for Me.
Yes.
Would have definitely loved to take that in. Wife and I went to Pink at Fenway. It was awesome. What a great show. Number 4. Public Enemy.
Yeah! This is why we do the lists.
Huge influence on me growing up, high school, college. Saw them at Summerfest in Milwaukee one year. It was an awesome show.
Public Enemy, number 4. All right, number 3.
Pearl Jam.
Yes. I could see you and Felger holding hands at a Pearl Jam
thing is,
concert.
I have never seen them in person. It's on my bucket list. I keep meaning to go. I never pull the trigger. But, yeah, Felger wants to take me with his primo seats. I would definitely love that.
Number two,
Hootie and the Blowfish / Darius Rucker.
Oh, this is so Miami of you.
Have always been. I saw them. I saw Hootie in Columbia, South Carolina before they hit it big. Really like them there. Have been a fan throughout of all their stuff the entire time. See them anytime they're around. It's a great time. They put on a great show.
All right, you're number one.
U2.
U2.
Love U2. Have seen them, I don't know, a dozen times in person.
You going to go to the Sphere and see them?
I would have loved to. Again, money. But, the twins are about to go to college, both of them at the same time. So can't exactly fly out on a whim.
My favorite part of the day was Public Enemy.
That's right.
Favorite part of the freaking day.
Yeah, boy.
He's Greg Bedard. I am Nick Cattles. Hopefully you enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed it the last 3 hours. Coming up next, we got Matt McCarthy and Alex Barth in for Felger and Maz. A special thank you to the man making the magic behind the glass. It's Kyle Fabrizio. Happy New Year, everybody. Have a fantastic day. Have a fantastic rest of...
From the Town Fair Tire Studio, the Patriots.
Into the end zone.
Here.
Touchdown for the Patriots. WBC FM and HD Boston 98.5. The Sports Hub, a Beasley Media Group station. Sports Hub headlines.
Patriots are set to play their final game of the 2024 season against the Bills on Sunday. According to Gerard Mayo and Drake May, May will play in that game. Absent from today's practice, Christian Gonzalez due to a concussion, Jalen Polk with a shoulder problem, Kayshon Boutte unknown, and Ben Brown still dealing with that concussion he had last week. Texas